Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're diving right into the very heart of India to unpack the core concepts of Indian agriculture. We're going to explore this massive geographic tapestry of farming systems and see exactly how they shape, well, everything. Everyday life, the economy, the culture. So, if you've ever found yourself wondering how geography directly impacts the food on your plate or the clothes on your back, you are absolutely in the right place. Let's get started.
Here's our roadmap for today. First, the roots of farming. Second, seasons of the harvest. Third, fueling the nation. Fourth, beyond the plate. And finally, reforming the fields. Let's jump right in.
To really establish the sheer stakes right out of the gate, we've got to look at one incredible number. 2/3. Literally 2/3 of India's massive population is directly engaged in agricultural activities. Think about that for a second. This isn't just another economic sector. It's a primary activity that forms the absolute backbone of the entire nation. It produces most of the food people eat and generates vital raw materials for all kinds of industries. When we talk about Indian agriculture, we are literally talking about the livelihood of hundreds of millions of people.
Section 1. The roots of farming. Cultivation methods.
So there's this stark contrast in farming systems, and it's driven entirely by geography and population. First up, we have primitive subsistence farming. This relies on small patches of land, family labor, and primitive tools. Think hoes and digging sticks. It's totally dependent on the monsoon and natural soil fertility. But as population pressure ramps up, we see a shift to intensive subsistence farming. Here, land is super limited, so farmers have to use massive amounts of labor, biochemical inputs, and irrigation just to force higher production out of those tiny areas. And then, at the other end of the spectrum, there's commercial farming. This is all about scale and market output. We're talking high-yielding variety seeds, chemical fertilizers, the whole shebang. What's kind of fascinating here is that a crop can be purely commercial in one state, like rice in Punjab, but act as a basic subsistence crop in another state, like Odisha.
You know what's really interesting? The global cultural footprint of primitive subsistence farming, specifically that slash-and-burn method. It's an ancient practice, and it's known by dozens of regional names all over the world. Over in Northeast India, it's famous as juming. But if you travel the globe, you'll hear it called milpa in Mexico or roca in Brazil. And honestly, even just within India, the terminology changes drastically depending on where you are, from Bilwar and Madhya Pradesh all the way to Podu in Andhra Pradesh.
So in practice, shifting cultivation works a bit like this. Farmers clear a patch of forest, burn the vegetation, and then use that nutrient-rich ash to grow crops to sustain their families. Now, the overall productivity here is pretty low because they aren't using modern fertilizers. But there's a real natural wisdom to it, right? Because when the soil fertility eventually depletes, the farmers don't fight it. They simply shift and clear a fresh patch of land somewhere else, and that gives the old patch time to naturally replenish its fertility. It's like nature's own reset button.
Section 2. Seasons of the harvest. India's crop calendar. Now, India operates on this really precise, continuous cycle of 3 main cropping seasons. First, it starts with the rabi crops. These are sown in the winter, around October to December, and then harvested in the summer. Wheat and peas are classic examples here. Then we have the kharif crops. These are intrinsically tied to the arrival of the monsoon. They're sown in June and July and harvested right around September and October. This is when crops like paddy and maize absolutely thrive. And then, tucked right in between those two during those short, hot summer months is the zaid season. It's a quick window, but it is perfect for fast-growing stuff like watermelons, cucumbers, and fodder crops.
Section 3. Fueling the nation. Major Indian crops.
Let's talk about paddy, or rice. This crop demands lush, flooded fields. It's the absolute staple food crop for a huge majority of the Indian population. In fact, India is the second largest producer in the entire world. But it demands a very specific geography. Being a classic kharif crop, it needs high temperatures, specifically above 25 degrees Celsius, paired with high humidity and heavy annual rainfall. We're talking above 100 centimeters. In areas that get less rain than that, it can really only survive if there's an intensive irrigation network set up.
But stepping beyond the staple of rice, we have to highlight the incredible power of millets and pulses. Millets like jawar, bajra, and ragi are often called coarse grains, but honestly, they pack a massive nutritional punch. They're rich in iron, calcium, and roughage. Plus, they are incredibly resilient. They often grow in these dry, rain-fed regions where other crops would just completely fail. And then you have pulses, things like tur, urad, mung, and gram. India is actually the largest producer and consumer of these in the world. They're a major source of vegetarian protein, sure, but geographically, they are basically magic. Because they're leguminous crops, they actually pull nitrogen right out of the air and fix it into the soil, naturally restoring the soil's fertility. That's exactly why farmers so brilliantly use them in crop rotation.
Now, this local farming scales up massively when we look at plantation crops. Think about your morning cup of tea or coffee. That comes from plantation farming, which is this type of commercial farming where a single crop is grown over huge, sprawling tracts of land. It acts as this fascinating interface between agriculture and industry. It requires massive, capital-intensive inputs and usually relies on migrant labor. Whether it's tea in Assam and West Bengal or high-quality Arabica coffee down in the Nilgiri hills of Kerala and Tamil Nadu, these plantations rely heavily on well-developed transportation and communication networks to instantly move that harvest straight to the processing industries.
Section 4. Beyond the plate. Essential non-food crops.
There's a really sharp contrast when we look at the beauty and the burden of non-food crops. Take the cotton plant, for example. It is incredibly delicate. It requires exactly 210 frost-free days and bright sunshine to mature over a 6 to 8 month period. India is actually believed to be the original home of this plant, but it's very picky. It demands the drier parts of the black cotton soil found on the Deccan Plateau, along with high temperatures and light rainfall. And to pull this off commercially, it requires intense land preparation and clearing just to cultivate these vast tracts for the non-food industries.
Two other absolutely essential crops we need to talk about are jute and rubber. Jute is famously known as the golden fiber. It needs well-drained, fertile soils and floodplains where the soil is literally renewed every single year, places like West Bengal and Bihar. It's the sturdy material behind gunny bags, mats, and ropes. Rubber, on the other hand, is an equatorial crop. It demands a super moist, humid climate with huge amounts of rainfall. We're talking over 200 centimeters, and temperatures consistently above 25 degrees Celsius. Because of that, southern states like Kerala and Tamil Nadu are its prime geographic home in India.
Section 5. Reforming the fields, modernizing agriculture.
So, post-independence, the sustained use of land without any modern updates was really holding the country back. The government had to tackle this on two main fronts. First up, institutional reforms. The right of inheritance over generations had severely fragmented landholdings. So new laws were passed for land consolidation and, crucially, to abolish the exploitative zamindari system. This was all about empowering the actual tillers of the land. Then came the technological reforms in the 60s and 70s. You've probably heard of the Green Revolution, right? That brought in packaged technology, like those high-yielding variety seeds for crops like wheat. There was also the White Revolution, also known as Operation Flood, which was designed to massively boost milk production. Together, these reforms really aimed to break that total historical dependency on the monsoon and natural soil fertility.
As we wrap up this explainer on the geography of Indian agriculture, I want to leave you with one final thought to ponder. We've seen just how deeply interconnected geography, climate, and farming methods really are. But as land remains limited, as the population keeps growing, and as our climate shifts, how critical is basic literacy and technological education for the everyday farmer? If the future of our fields relies on precise chemical inputs, deep market knowledge, and adapting to harsh climate realities, well, the most important agricultural tool of the future might just be education. Definitely something to think about the next time you sit down for a meal.